Hello everyone and welcome back to the HGC ANZ Premier Division. We're into the second series of the night, and it's going to be between Rich Gang E-Thugs and Crimson Esports. Crimson, right off the back of qualifying for Rio on Tuesday, they are looking to keep the train rolling and keep their winning streak alive, Andy.
They are indeed. Crimson, they've set this all up for a very, very nice start. We saw them earlier in the season drop a couple of unexpected games, but since that, they really pulled themselves together and knew that, okay, we have to change something. We can't be affording to drop games that we were expected to win. And since that's been pretty smooth sailing for the boys.
Yeah, they have been putting up strong performances week after week, and we'll have to see how they go up against Mindfreak in the next, or over the next week, and also once we go over to Rio, well, they will go over to Rio, I guess, for that final and in the Intercontinental Clash. But on the other side of the rift, it is going to be Rich Gang. That's the one. We have another one of those teams that we're really just a little bit unsure about how they're going to turn up on the day, because coming into the season, we're looking at this team as being potential top 4, but due to how things have turned out, it's just not really turned out in that way.
They're pretty much towards the bottom of the pack, and a lot of that has just been the roster had a bit of drama, as well as just scheduling issues for themselves. So yeah, as you said, just really like to see them being able to step it up. When they do play, as I said, they still have that execution, they still have the team play, but we just haven't seen that consistency from them. We do also have both teams ready to start. We will be playing on Tomb of the Spider Queen for this first game, and this one has been picked by Rich Gang.
Yes, and we do have to note that they will be having a substitution, so Steve will be coming in for Fesh, who was unable to play for tonight. So unfortunately, Fesh, who is one of their big star players, is going to be unavailable for tonight. But Poop Steve, I think is his name, but he's going to be coming in as the substitution.
Yeah, he's their manager / coach. Well, no, sorry, just manager, not coach at all.
It all works out in the same way when it comes to the whole technicalities, but he is going to be substituting in for Fesh. So unfortunately, they won't have their full strength roster, but I'll have to see how they go up against Crimson as we are getting into the draft. And Hanzo right off the bat, Crimson, they just don't want to deal with that.
Crimson, I guess by banning out that Hanzo, he's been very meta, similar to how Garrosh has been. I see a lot of Garrosh Hanzo bans coming on out now. This seems to be the norm. I guess Hanzo is that utility that he can provide. He can build a couple of different ways as well, quite bursty. You also then have the Scatter Arrow build, which is very good at taking down monsters or minions. And then also you can go kind of that auto attack shred build. So he's very, very versatile in that sense.
Interesting start to the draft, as we had the Genji first pick coming out for Crimson, and the instant response from Rich Gang was the Oil Gul'dan, which is a real throwback of a combination.
It is indeed. I mean, this is taking it back old school, and Rich Gang aren't afraid of that life whatsoever. Gul'dan as well, very, very strong on Tomb of the Spider Queen. Really love that wave clear that he can bring to the lanes. And I feel like to set yourself up very nicely for Tomb, you really do want to be focusing around that wave clear.
Yeah, and Gul'dan really strong for that wave clear, and will also be able to recharge Oriel's batteries very, very efficiently and allow her to keep on pumping out those healings. She did get a little bit of a buff. I think it was one of the more recent patches. We'll have to see how that works out in this game, as the response from Crimson is going to be the Johanna and the Sonya. So they are starting to pull together some wave clear for themselves, and also some of that domination in that solo lane.
It really has been. I really like these picks. I'm not going to give away too much more how this draft is going to proceed. And this is an interesting one as well, because the Oriole has been taken off the board, and now the Stukov. Malfurion is still available for play, but also Uther, who pairs really nicely with the rest of their composition, add a little bit more of that CC, give a Divine Shield to Genji. Bob's your uncle, really.
Yeah, it's a very strong combination that has popped up more and more over the past month. It's kind of dropped off for a little bit with the whole Malfurion Stukov meta, where it was just like those two were the only two supports that were played. And then Uther just like popped up again. People realized, oh yeah, Genji's good, so let's just pair the Uther with him, just let him slash through everyone. It's actually going to be the Maiev ban. So looking at the side of Rich Gang, where are they looking to next? They still need a front line. They still need pretty much all the other main roles. So where do you think they're going with for these next couple of picks?
I mean, knowing Rich Gang, they do also don't mind playing the globals. If Jim Jam's playing, I don't think he'd bring out the foul stat, but I wouldn't put it past him as well.
He did get a buff in the recent patch.
Yeah, but on such a small map, I feel like it's just limited to what value he can get out of that. Tyrael is very, very nice, as is the Leoric. These are way more on-meta picks. So really the only thing that kind of jumps out to me is that Oriole, but she still has that battery capability. When you're paired with that Gul'dan, as long as she's getting enough energy, it will be almost like that Morales right there. You'll just have heals for days, as long as she's relatively untouched. But I'm just looking at that Genji. If they do draft more dive on the side of Crimson, this is where it could start to look quite scary.
Yeah, just interested to see where they go for their support pick. If they do just pick up that Malfurion or the Uth, like as you mentioned, both of those are available, and both of those are very highly prioritized healers in the current meta. Malfurion, sure, he did call up a little bit of a nerf to his healing, but he is going to be the pickup, and they're also going to grab the Phoenix for themselves. So that is a lot of damage coming out from this Crimson lineup.
Maybe a Tychus to fill this last slot, or a Greymane? Could be quite nice. You're going to add to the Greymane, will add to the wave clear, give them a little bit of that execution.
Oh,
no, it's all in on the tanks.
Yeah, this is a very beefy lineup coming out from the side of Rich Gang. They will have the healing coming out from the Oriole to help them out, but with how her healing does get distributed, it's going to rely on the rest of Rich Gang to be pretty much huddled up to get the maximum value out of it. And we're talking about in the last series, how is the damage going to be coming through? I mean, yes, the Gul'dan can do a lot of consistent damage, but will they be allowed to have those fights where it just drags out long enough where Gul'dan is just going to wear down the lineup of Crimson?
I mean, it's hard to say. Yes, on one hand, we could see where they could come. I mean, if they do opt for that Entomb, they do have a lot of that potential burst damage. So is Gul'dan able to use that Horrify to really split them up, and then they can focus on one target? But if it's not done fast enough, as you said, in the long run, their damage is definitely lacking.
Yeah, but it is interesting to see. We haven't seen the Oriole in a while. They do have the double angel combination in Oriole Tyrael, so they have a lot of ways to stay alive. But if they can't get these kills, it's just they wave clear and then move on. And how are these fights going to go? I'm very intrigued to see how they play out, because looking at on the other side with Crimson, they're a team that knows how to play these maps very well. And I'm looking to see how, if it's going to be one of those maps or one of those matches where it's determined by the team fight play or just the macro rotations and just outplaying in rotations. It
will be. But also looking at Crimson, because they didn't get that last pick, they weren't expecting that third tank as well. So maybe that Phoenix could have then been traded out for the Tychus, who then I would have been like, all right, Crimson got this one definitely in the bag. Like, the tank's going to try and come in. They can just sit there, shred them for days. With the Phoenix, it becomes a little bit harder. I'm not too worried, though. Crimson's draft, it's something that I've seen them play before. They'd be confident in it. It's more Rich Gang that I'm looking at how are they going to execute this one, because we saw last game where Mprox didn't draft enough damage, it really punished them. Is the same going to happen to Rich Gang?
Well, we'll have to see as we are getting into this series. It is on the blue side. We have the Rich Gang Ethos. We have Jim Jam on the Gul'dan. Deuces is on Tyrael. Slaw on Leoric. Fairy on Oriole. And Steve is on the Muradin.
And on the red side, we have Crimson with Altivian playing Phoenix. Jesmez on Sonya. KVA playing Johanna. Shadow on Malfurion. And Azura on that Genji.
Yeah, and I was mentioning the win-loss ratio of the Phoenix here in ANZ, and I was talking about how all of the losses up to the point that we're talking about it was one team, and that was pretty much all of Rich Gang. They pulled it out 4 times last week, and all of those ended up in losses. So unfortunate for them that they were not able to get the wins with that hero, but now they're going to have to go up against it, and interested to see if they have the tools necessary to deal with it. As we can see, the corruption doing a decent amount of damage, but it's all onto the shields. One thing I did notice is that poison or dots onto the Phoenix interact very weird when it comes to the visuals, because it looks like it's doing a lot of damage, but it's just pumped onto the shield.
On the shield.
It's a little bit deceptive in that manner.
It is indeed. It's a bit of that visual bug where you'll just see it detracting from the shield, whereas you'd actually like to see the decay on the shield to report properly.
Yeah.
So it's not going to go through the shield. Don't worry, there's no bug mechanics here. It's just a bit of that visual.
Yeah, just not
deception.
As clear. Yeah, when I first saw it, I was like, wait, why is he taking so much damage? And it was like, oh wait, it's just all onto the shield. But we are just having rather calm and collected early game, just trying to clear the waves, trying to set up for the players as they do try and get a lot of damage down onto Fairy. He does manage to get flipped away, but he doesn't. Well, actually does manage to survive. This, the extra Determined Strike coming out onto Azure managed to keep him away. That little bit of extra damage probably would have done enough to finish off that Oriole, but they did manage to keep him alive. And with the damage coming out from Jim Jam, she'll be able to keep the hope there for Fairy, and they can keep this fight going.
As you can see, it's all about getting those quick lane clears and then trying to see if you can catch someone off in these rotations. This is something that Crimson doing quite well, actually, for the beginning of the game.
Yeah, they do have the rotation up on the side of Rich Gang, but this is going to leave the rest of the members in mid up to... essentially leaving them to the Wolves, as Fairy is now in a really bad position, does get condemned in, and that's going to be the first kill onto the Oriole by Crimson.
No escape there, coming on out. Azure not afraid to get in amongst it as well.
Ooh, on the bottom side. Oh, Crimson, Azure tries to get in onto Slaw. He does manage to get out of there, tried to finish him off, but did not have the execution there, but manages to get out in the nick of time before the towers were doing a little bit too much. Almost getting a second kill for him in a very nice rotation, but it is just going to be that one kill, but they do have the priority in these rotations right now.
I mean, speaking of getting amongst it, you can see Azure is so low in the bottom lane. Slaw managing to hold on. That's actually really good. It means that another resource doesn't have to be pulled down.
Never mind.
But he gets tricked.
In the repeat gank, they do manage to get the kill there, and that is going to be a nice little pickup on the side of Crimson, while the rest of the team is just very cleanly taking care of these minion waves and just getting ready for a potential turn-in early on in this game.
You can see the difference in gems coming on out as well because of that kill that happened onto Slaw. He lost a nice chunk of them, which has got to feel bad. There's no one just on standby able to pick them up. So it will set back Rich Gang a little bit.
Oh, in the middle lane, Jim Jang getting caught out. Great roots coming out from the shadow. Manages to lock down a second one as they pick up the Tyrael as well. Great couple of kills coming out for Crimson. And this should be able to secure the first Web Weaver phase to the side of Crimson.
Oh, look at that fantastic route coming out by Shadow there as Fairy's trying to retreat. It's just blocking off that pathway, and that's something you really need to respect with Malfurion, especially because he's taken the deep roots as well. So he can block off large sections of the map, similar to Stukov when he takes the Lurking Arm upgrade.
Yeah, it makes it very hard to really maneuver around in these teamfights, especially when there are a lot of those choke points in and around the objective areas. As the red Web Weavers are coming in, KVA taking a little bit of damage, but he's going to be okay to just walk away, whereas on the bottom side, Slaw is taking yet another death to his name as Jesmez and Azure just pairing up so well here on the bottom side of the map.
Getting absolutely bullied. Any chance that you can see Crimson when Slaw's there, they're going for it.
And now they're going to try and turn onto Fairy, as they do have the rest of the members coming down of the side of Rich Gang, but the rest of the members of Crimson are there too. They are going to be able to pick up another one. Gul'dan is down, and that is the majority of the wave clear. Slaw is going to be reviving into the waiting arms of Crimson. He drops immediately. So there's another couple of kills going over, and that is even more pressure coming up for Crimson. These Web Weavers are pushing in, and there's really not much on the side of Rich Gang to really push them away.
Well, it is. I mean, Gul'dan is the majority of their wave clear, and he's still coming on out. So this is really where Crimson are abusing the composition that Rich Gang have drafted. And this is something that I wasn't really going to be surprised about. Crimson, they know how to play, and they know what sort of weaknesses to expect. Slaw goes for the third time now.
Yeah, it's not looking good for that poor Leoric. 4 deaths already so early on into the game, and really, Crimson just bullying this poor Leoric and making it really hard for the entirety of Rich Gang to get any kind of ground. Great roots coming out. They do lock down Jim Jam. He's trying to get out of there, but enough damage goes through. They do manage to pick up the Gul'dan, and they're trying to turn it onto Juices, who was just trying to help out his team, but he's just going to get picked off. Another 2 kills going over to Crimson. They are just about to pick up their heroics, and it's not even level 7 yet on the side of Rich Gang.
11 kills, 5 minutes in. What does that sort of say about Rich Gang? They're having a very, very difficult time. The boss call has been made as well. With how much experience and kills that they were getting from the structures, it's really set Crimson up so nicely. And they can now bully off Rich Gang from getting their first turn with this boss as well, creating that pressure.
Yeah, and looking at the gem counter, Rich Gang don't even have enough to get a turn in for themselves. They need several waves to accrue enough gems for themselves, and on the other side, they're almost about even in terms of how close they are to their next turn in. Slaw is going to get 10 on the bottom side, but they still have a decent amount to go before they can actually get a turn in. And throughout all this, Crimson is just going to keep on applying the pressure. The boss is coming in on this top side of the map. They do get a good aggressive play onto Jim Jam. Great lockdown. They take down the Gul'dan immediately. They use everything to clean up the backline of Rich Gang. They're going to keep on pushing in, and we could be in for a very quick finish in this first game.
I believe we will be. They're showing no signs of putting any breaks for Crimson, and they're hungry to also pad their KDAs with Tyrael now falling. That's 14 kills traded over to the side of Crimson. You really see 15, sorry, Slaw falls again. But you can really see that Aegis just wanted right there by Fairy so desperately. but no avail. They just lost too much experience.
Wow, what a quick and dominating game coming up from Crimson. 6.5 minutes, 15 kills. That is as dominant as you could ever get. And it looked rough just heading out of the draft. I mean, just having that very solid front line, but they didn't really have any ways to really get the damage across. Yes, Jim Jam was able to do a decent amount using those corruptions, but they just weren't able to get anything done, and Crimson just punished them to the maximum.
With the dive as well that they could bring, Azu, as I said, not afraid to get amongst it. And Shadow, his roots were impeccable. Every chance that he got to really lock them up, we saw as well that talent getting so much value with the deep roots, just locking up even 2 members of a time of Rich Gang, just punishing them so hard. They weren't able, like, as I said, they saw that, okay, we've really only got 1 wave clear hero. The rest of it's just tanks. If we kill Jim Jam, you're pretty much just stuffed in terms of how you can defend against the web weavers. And we can also then utilize the web weavers who are tanking the structures to then go in and start a fight. So you're really going to be losing on both fronts. You're going to be dying and you can't really defend against what we're pushing. So well done, Crimson.
Yeah, it was a bit of a rock and a hard place kind of a situation there for Rich Gang, but also they kind of put themselves there with some of their draft choices, but we will see how they try and come back in the second game. Crimson just looking so good already, on a wave of confidence as they qualified for Rio earlier this week. And against a team like Rich Gang, you want to see Crimson play like that. You want to see them have those very clean and decisive games against teams that they know that they are better than.
Yeah, exactly right. They are. I mean, currently they're ranked 2nd on the leaderboards. And as you said, they're riding that tide and they want to be in the best shape possible as well before they go to the Intercontinental Clash. So this is Crimson's way. They didn't drop a single member either. Almost dropping Azure there when he overcommitted a little bit. But you could already see Hiccup was there to also heal him up, make sure that they didn't trade that kill. And it just works really well. So we're already setting up for the second game. We will be going to Battlefield of Eternity. And this one was once again chosen by Rich Gang, which will mean that first pick then we'll go over to Crimson.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's one of the maps that does tend to pop up reasonably frequently. Especially for Rich Gang, they just want to kind of punch on. And it's one of those maps where you can really get that play style to really work out. But not having Fesh on the lineup for tonight, you can see the difference that a player like Fesh does make on a team. They just didn't have that extra punch, not only in the draft, but also in just the playmaking potential.
So when they're down and out, it already feels like it's getting worse for them. Yeah, Fesh, he brings a lot. He's one of their main assassins on the roster. So by not having him as well, it's a bit hard. And we also know with Pooh Steve, he's only got a couple of heroes that he really likes to play quite confidently, quite happily. So that will also limit the options that Rich Gang have available for them tonight.
Yeah, having that rather limited effective champion pool. So we're talking about champion pools or hero pools. Why did I say champion? It's been a while since I've used that. What the hell? It's been a while since just completely lost my train of thought. But talking about hero, I just don't know where I went with that one. We're talking about hero pools, especially with teams like Downfall, where they have very wide pools. But it's you really got to look at the very effective hero pool and how many they have at their disposal. And looking at Rich Gang, it's quite limited. Looking at the lineup that they have right now, but looking at the side of Crimson, they have quite a few tools to work with.
They did indeed. I think, though, this map right here will feel a lot more at home for Rich Gang, where they can, as you said, they don't have to worry too much about the macro decisions. Only 2 lanes that they could really play with. Mostly everyone ANZ, it's one of their favorites. It's one of the staples in this region for a reason. It's just, you know how to play it. And really, there's 2 real compositions people like to draft. You either go the full race, or you also then draft something with a lot of wave clear, so you can continuously push out the lanes and then go something a little bit more defensive. And if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be KVA on that Garrosh, as Gimme calls it, the Garrosh combination.
He does put the fear of God into anyone with that Garrosh. He's just a menace on that hero. So a very strong pick for the side of Crimson right off the bat. Interesting looking at the bans. I mean, there was a first big Genji for the side of Crimson in the previous game, but they're going to ban away right off the bat. And the Samurai ban, it's a bit of an intriguing one, but it does leave pretty much... It's one of those bans where you're just like, is it a specific ban on a kind of playstyle, or if it's just like, if we ban something that's top tier, it's leaving less top tiers for us once it comes to our part of the draft. But the Junkrat Brightwing, this is just an rather quick draft and rather interesting on both sides.
We can also see from Crimson as well, if they don't get the one Shimada brother, they're very happy to prioritize the others. We know Hanzo works so much better on this map. It is one of his maps for a reason, able to shred down that Immortal. And by taking away the Genji, it's also quite a big counter to Hanzo. So that's smart drafting coming on out. And then next ban, Stukov. I'm wondering if that Samurai ban might have also been just a misclick, if they were just opting for Stukov instead and picked the wrong guy.
That's possible.
Because Samuro, nobody really has
like,
brought him out on Crimson. You're not versing Downfall. I don't think there was any risk of him getting
Hero League with Xylines in the game. I mean, it's a rather intriguing ban, but yeah, is it interesting that it does leave open quite a few of the power picks.
Yes.
But most of them were picked up by Crimson. They got the Garrosh, they got the Hanzo, both heroes which were banned in the previous game.
They've also taken away Poopsy's favorite hero in the entire game, which is that Sonya, whom he loves in and out. So that's also something that I wanted to bring up last game as well. By taking away that Sonya, it's really taking away that comfort pick from Poopsy. As I said, limited roster to what he feels comfortable playing. And Sonya, by far one of his best.
Yeah, and we can see, I believe that he will be on that Muradin yet again, but we'll have to see how the rest of the draft lines up for the rest of Rich Gang, if they are going to be going for another DPS, but who will be on that?
Please be another DPS. If there's a Leoric that then gets picked up, I'm done. I'm done, Rich Gang.
Yeah, interestingly, on the side of Crimson, they do have the Leeming and the Karazim to follow up, or to finish off their draft, so going in a bit of a different direction. As they did in the previous one, not going for the Malfurion, even though it was on the table, they are going with the Karazim. Wanted to get a little bit more aggressive, wanted to punch down that front line. And looking at what Rich Gang has played, you can understand wanting to go for that Karazim, wanted to really make the most of that very melee-heavy composition.
Yeah, but you can also go that 7-side strike, and it's wonderful at busting down those tanks. So we're going to see. I don't think we'll see a third tank coming on out. If we do from Rich Gang, as I said, why? Like, there's just going to be so little damage coming your way. But who would we like to see? I mean, you got the Junkrat there for the poke. I'd really like to see some sustained damage. So I'm hoping that we either see that Greymane or Tychus.
A Greymane or a Tychus would be
It works
quite
so
good.
well.
The Tychus would work really well into the Garrosh. The Sonya, going with the bigger they are at 4, can really punch down a lot of those HP bars, especially with the percentage damage. Garrosh's worst nightmare is that percentage damage would do a decent amount of work, but with how the roster is shaping up, actually a Zervital is intriguing to say the least. If it's going to be enough to really work out for the side of Rich Gang, I'm not too sure, but I have to see how it plays out. It's going to be deuces on that Zeratul.
That's a comfort pick. That is 100% a comfort pick right there, but you really give up any chance of racing the Immortal now, so it's going to be in terms of defending. Hopefully they have enough burst potential, and that's really going to be how Rich Gang will play their composition. Look to isolate that one target, blow them up as soon as possible. So in saying that, now I'm thinking Shadow could get more value by going Palm.
Absolutely. And just looking at these compositions, Rich Gang, they live and die by their team fights, or how these fights go. If they manage to, as you mentioned, get one of those pickoffs, using the polymorph of the Brightwing could really help out. If that Garrosh tries to step forward and get one of those Groundbreaker Wrecking Ball combinations, all of a sudden that the guy's a little sheep and you just start wailing away at him. That could be an opportunity for them to get some advantages going, but with how tanky Garrosh is, I'm not sure if that lineup on the side of Rich Gang will be able to push through all that armor.
No, it won't be, but we have to wait and see. I mean, there's a lot of theory crafting that kind of goes into this as well. This could be finally what Rich Gang were looking for. However, I think we're all a little bit sad that Fesh isn't here. It's one of the maps where he really stood out to us in a play that he made a couple of weeks ago, earlier on in the season.
Oh, yeah. He is a big playmaker, and I feel as though, would they have had that Tracer that Fesh is really well known for? That could have been really good to have at their disposal. But here we are on the blue side. We're on Battlefield of Eternity, and it is Rich Gang. We have Jim Jam on the Junkrat, Fairy on Brightwing, Deuces on Zeratul, Slaw on EPC, and Steve is on the Muradin.
And Crimson, as the name suggests, on the red side, with Altivian playing Hanzo, KVA on the Garrosh, his Garrosh, Shadow playing Karazim, Jesmez on the Sonya, and Azir playing Li Ming.
Yeah, and I really like this composition coming out for Crimson. They cover a lot of their bases, and they just have so many tools to work with. They have a lot of damage on the Immortal, they have a lot of damage in teamfight, they have some good execution, and depending on how they play this out, as we do have Jim Jam flipped in, and that is just quick and easy. Not really a hell of a lot could be done there for the side of Rich Gang.
I just love like Crimson's draft. I'm not even going to keep quiet about it. It's just like perfect. They're thinking about everything, like the poke that they get, the wave clear, the objective. It's just really, really strong for this map.
Oh, and there's another great play coming up for KVA, flipping in Slaw on that HGC, and this is why you ban this against Crimson. KVA is such a menace on this hero. It makes it so much hard for them to deal with, as Deuce is really playing with fire there, just walking right into him. As he flipped in the Fairy. Why are you stepping up to a garage? We see this time and time again. Deuce is going to be the next one to go down.
Oh my god.
This is just a bloodbath.
I mean, I'm so glad that Samurai wasn't here to enjoy this map, but Garrosh was.
Yeah, I think
if that parody there, it must have been a misclick.
I really hope that was, because with this Garrosh here, we're seeing why it is one of those priority bans, especially against a team like Crimson. KVA just so very powerful on the hero. It flips in Slaw. They are just going to apply so much damage. Shadow goes in, wanting to make the big plays. He's had enough standing at the back line of that Malfurion and just pottering away with those heals and moonfires. He wants to get in and he wants to throw hands.
Well, KVA's already done 6 stacks of his Warbreaker, and we've got 4 stacks on the Simple Geometry. So they are off to a flying start, with it only being 2 minutes into this set. That's just showing how the kills are flying, literally, with KVA chucking them into his team.
Yeah, and now we're getting closer to this first Immortal phase, and it doesn't get better from there for Rich Gang. As you mentioned in the draft, the amount of race potential that this lineup on the side of Crimson has, you have Hanzo, who on his own can be a race potential, but you also have the damage going from a Li Ming, who is very considerable, as we do have Jim Jam and Slaw going in to try and contest the point, but it's already been taken, as now they're just going to turn it right onto Jim Jam. He's a little bit too far forward, and now he's going to be the first one to go down, and here comes the recess. ETC is going to be the next one to fall. Fairy is there, and she is in not a very good position trying to get out of there, but there is the other spear flipping around, and that is 3-0 for a very, very ambitious engage coming out from the side of Rich Gang.
Very ambitious invade trying to come out. I mean, you could see Crimson, they already had vision. They had the recon arrow as well as the air ally coming on out as well for Karazim to provide the vision. They were anticipating it. And also KVA, he was anchoring down towards the bottom side, the bottom fog. He actually demounted a lot of the Rich Gang members trying to make that invade. So the comms were already there, and Rich Gang to still try and go for it, that was just ballsy and did not pay off.
Absolutely, and look at the experience lead. Actually, Fairy is looking to go down very quickly. Meanwhile, the Junkrat is going to get caught out, as I was just looking on the top side. And throughout all of this, the rest of Crimson are just going to rush down this Immortal, get a full health Immortal for themselves, as Slaw is going to be the next target. They just feel as though they're in such a good position. They can burn down this Immortal while also potentially picking up a kill for themselves, as this is a rather considerable Immortal for them to deal with. And looking at the tools on the side of Rich Gang, I'm not sure how effectively they'll be able to deal with it, as Fairy coming in, and she came into the wrong neighborhood, and that is going to be another quick kill going over to the side of Crimson. She
died for Poop Steve's or she just died just trying to get a friendly rotation coming on out, just get caught completely out. This is going to be a full shield Immortal as well. So Rich Gang looking to cement the lead. Rich Gang being the ones who are being bullied, but it's going to be Crimson looking to cement the lead.
Yeah, and they are just going to keep on pushing through. They don't need the Immortal to do a lot of the damage. They're just going to keep on piling it through, as KVA just throws Jesmes straight into the face of Jesus. That is just lands right on his jaw. And that is going to be another kill, and they're just going to keep on pushing. The shield is almost down on this Immortal, but is going to do a decent amount of damage to this core, or not core, the keep, as Slaw is going to get thrown in yet again. That is another kill. This is just rough to watch, Vandy.
I need some Mortal Kombat music right here. You can see Crimson, it's going through their heads, and they're like, fatality, finish him. And that's exactly what they're looking to do with Rich Gang here. Not even waiting till they get the heroics, trying to get as much push value out of this Immortal as possible. Taking the keep as well. Yep,
and the Immortal is almost going to fall, but it still has enough health, and with the level advantage, they are just going to keep on pushing in onto the core. They are starting to drop a little lower, well, at least KVA is, but he is fine at that HP. He has a lot of armor, and it looks like they have the tools to keep on pushing through. They have the healing, they have the damage, and there's not really a hell of a lot that Rich Gang can do, but with it being such an early part of the game, they are going to be forced away just a little bit, just because of the lower death timers at this point.
That's exactly right. They have managed to dent the core. They have managed to dent the core, sitting at 95%. But that's not phasing Crimson. They want it. They want this early finish. They're trying to end the game.
Yeah, and KVA is going to get saved by that palm. Really nicely done as they do manage to pick up the Junkrat. So great turnaround there for the side of Crimson, and they're just going to use this talent and level advantage to their advantage. And they're just going to keep on pushing through. They tried to make a play on the side of Rich Gang, but they just didn't have the tools. And that is just going to be a quick and easy game coming out for Crimson. It was a rather dominating finish, and it looks like it's just going to be the very, very quick 2-0 coming out for Crimson. It did end up rip KDA at the end there as he gets caught out, but that was just a very strong performance coming out from Crimson.
As I said, they just wanted to end the game here and now. They knew that they had the tools available for it. Any chance that Rich Gang were trying to muster up for a defense, instead they turned it around because they had that heroic advantage. We even saw the catapults rocking on up as well because the push went on for so long. Unfortunately, got sidetracked trying to take down the middle keep right there, but they didn't even need it. That's just how much damage and pressure that Crimson were willing to put out onto Rich Gang tonight.
Yeah, just a little bit too much for them to deal with. It's just looking at these teams, and yes, the substitution did have something to do with it, because not having one of your star players on the side of Rich Gang, it is going to hurt, not only just in the gameplay, but also in the draft. You could see that they were quite limited for tools, and it really hurt them in the long run.
That's all we've got for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So we saw earlier it was Mprox versus Downfall. Downfall taking that series 2-0. And this series right here was Rich Gang versus Crimson, with Crimson taking this one out cleanly, 2-0. So we'll be back again next week on Tuesday and Thursday. I believe it's our last week, Hunter. So it's been quite enjoyable. Make sure you tune in. We'll be back 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. But thank you all for tuning in tonight. We hope to see you again next week.